All right, well, welcome everybody to our weekly perspective, a little bit of perspective on what's going on. This is going to be our weekly update. So welcome. I hope all of you are safe. All of you are doing well, and let's get started. Before we get started, I actually want to tell you, if you have any questions throughout, as always, you can email those to us. Just go to weekly perspective, or pardon me, go into, let me get this screen sharing up and rolling here. Bear with me as I am having technical difficulties. So hopefully you guys got in and you were able to see the video that we had going on beforehand. So for those of you that came early, hopefully you got a little treat, put a smile on your face, and we're going to get into some good stuff here this afternoon. So without, let me try here, having some fun. Yay, weekly perspective. Let's get our level-headed weekly update. If you have questions, of course, you can email them to info@WMG for Wealth Management Group.com. And you can also raise your hand. I do have someone in as a panelist who would be able to pull that up. We could unmute you and we could hear your questions live. So with that, I want to get started. Let's go ahead. Our level-headed weekly update. A couple things from last week. I still love this. What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm? Maybe a hazmat suit. Betty, she's got to get her bingo in. She is absolutely not going to miss bingo. I love it. Some of y'all went from do-it-yourself, homemade, natural, all organic cleaning products to Clorox real fast, folks. Real fast. This one is my favorite right here. So what new skills did you acquire during self-quarantine? That is beautiful. Absolutely. Now, if you're not smiling, there's something wrong with you. That is great. That is awesome. Chuck Norris has been exposed to the coronavirus. The virus is now in quarantine for the next 14 days. Go figure. All right, let's talk about some good news. Let's start with I know the news media, all of your channels that have 3 letters, they can't wait to tell you what the death toll is every single day. And as of Monday, April 13th, so this was last Monday when I was pulling these numbers up, there were 435,184 people that had officially recovered. As of today, it's 739,971, so over 750,000 people have recovered, officially recovered from the coronavirus. Woohoo! That's all right. You guys are allowed to clap. That's awesome. All right. This is beautiful. 93-year-old Olive says, I need more beer. They posted that picture, and Molson Coors showed up at the 93-year-old's Olive house on Monday afternoon with a special delivery of 150 Coors Light beers. And she put up a sign and posted it, got more beer. So that's beautiful. I love that. Some of the stories we shared before, Keith, 101 years old, recovered from coronavirus. World War II veteran Bill, 104, had his 104th birthday after recovering from the coronavirus. UK's Boris Johnson, 102-year-old woman in Italy. So we are very proud of that. I am proud to be an advisor. I'm proud to be a business owner. There have been a lot of businesses that have stepped up. And I know that there have been breweries, there have been alcohol makers down in the southern states that have stepped up and started making hand sanitizers. You've got Dyson, who started creating ventilators. There's been a lot of people that are stepping up and coming to the forefront. Makes me proud to be a business owner. It makes me proud to be an American, not an Americant. So my little play on words. Let's talk about in crisis, facts are your allies. So I believe wholeheartedly that every single life is valuable. I believe that every COVID-19 casualty is a tragedy. Make no mistake about it. I believe every casualty is a tragedy. And I believe we must put every tragedy into perspective or we will fall into panic. So let's think about putting some perspective on the coronavirus. So how is the US doing with COVID-19 versus other countries? Is it getting better or is it getting worse? And the third question I would ask is, how does COVID-19 compare with other diseases? So let's start with some perspective. So compared to what is one of my first questions. So here's some headlines for you. U.S. coronavirus death increases by record amount for second straight day. Coronavirus has now killed more Americans than Pearl Harbor, 9/11 terrorist attack, and the Iraq-Afghan wars combined. Heartbreak. So how is the U.S. doing with COVID-19? According to this, we're not doing very well. U.S. leads global coronavirus deaths as cases surpass 550,000. Heartbreak, prayer, and mourning. U.S. leads world in coronavirus deaths after deadliest week. So should we actually be looking at the absolute number of casualties or the number as a percentage of the population? In other words, if a country has a really high population, wouldn't they have a higher number of casualties? That would be the thought. So population in millions. Let's put some perspective into play here. Facts are our friends. And Sweden, 10 million people, 37 million. Canada, 46 million. Italy, 60. UK, 66. The United States, 327 million. So what is our virus mortality per 100,000 of population compared to the rest of the world? 13 is the number that we're showing. So the coronavirus mortality rates as a percentage of those who get sick is 5.37. I'm going to talk about why I think these numbers are even skewed to be higher than what they actually are. But the global mortality, 6.86, US mortality, 5.37. So 5.4% that get it, pass from it, 46.6% get the virus and survive. Now, who's getting it and where are they getting? Are all states and cities equally impacted by COVID-19? So let's think about that for a second. Right now, 70% of the COVID-19 deaths in the United States are out of 3 states: New York, New Jersey, and Michigan, more specifically around the Chicago, Detroit area, I think, the Detroit area. So let's break this down a little bit. New York City represents 72% of the deaths in New York. The rest of New York is 38%. New York City cases, you will see that the new cases, this is a chart that shows new cases has started to flatten and it is even going down. So, but my question is, are the death rates even accurate? There was a story that was done in a Western Journal. New York City adds thousands of people who never tested positive to coronavirus to their death count. How are things in New York City? The mortality includes, this is super important here, the mortality includes 8,448 New Yorkers whose COVID-19 cases were confirmed before their deaths, as well as 4,264 probable victims of the bug, those who showed symptoms of illness. I read another article that talked about funding being tied to how many COVID-19 deaths there were within the hospitals. So there's questions about the numbers. Now, here's another thing that I love that the media is doing, your talking heads are doing all the time. Let's predict the number. So could coronavirus cause as many deaths as cancer in the US? This was another headline. So the estimate on coronavirus was 480,000 with the measures that we've taken. They said without measures, it would be somewhere between 1.2 and 2.2 million deaths. With these measures, 480,000 deaths. And they're saying this is what could happen, not what is happening or what the total number is. This is estimates. But I had a client that had asked me, said, you know, how does this compare to others? Well, here's their estimate. This isn't actually what the numbers are right now, but it's the estimate. But you can see with the flu, 59,000 deaths, drugs responsible for 67,000, diabetes, 85,000, stroke, 148, emphysema, COPD, over 150, Alzheimer's dementia, over 267, cancer, nearly 600, and heart disease, 655. So should we be looking Next question that I want to ask to put things in perspective is, should we be looking at the total number of cases and casualties or the number of new cases? So if you think about it, what the media is doing is they're stacking the numbers on top of each other. Here's the total number of cases, and this number is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Here's the total number of deaths. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, of course it is. You're stacking the numbers on top. But one of the things maybe we should be looking at is, what are the number of new cases of COVID-19 that we're seeing? And we've talked a lot about bell curves in the past few weeks, but here's one of the things, here's a chart that shows that we're starting to flatten this bell curve, which is what we've been trying to do. So how does the COVID-19 compare to other diseases? I had a client that is on the webinar right now, hopefully, that asked this question last week. So we're going to take a look. What's the mortality for the different diseases? As of right now, today, we've lost in the United States over 48,000 people to COVID-19. 2017 numbers, the flu took out about 55,000. Lower respiratory disease, 160,000. Accidents, 169,000. Heart disease, 650,000. So the biggest problem that I see is a matter of perspective. What exactly is it that the media is doing? They're showing what sells, man. It's fear. We know this. We've talked about this over and over again. And we have to focus on the perspective of where are we in the realm of everything else. So I'm trying to provide some perspective here. Now, here's the big question that I've kind of alluded to in other webinars and that, but I want to touch on this very quickly today. Actually, not so quickly. I actually want to touch on this a lot. The perspective right now is all about fear. You're going to get the COVID-19 virus and you're going to die. That's the message. If you don't know it, that's the message. You need to tune in every day to hear the greatest and best news on how many people have now died from this disease. I don't think that's the right message. I think there should be a message of hope that's out there. But let's say when we get on the other side of this, what do you think the perspective is going to be next? What do you think the headlines are going to be reading next? Could we have the same perspective problem as we're having today with the COVID-19 with your money? You know, what will be happening with your money at that time? When the COVID-19 is behind us, the top story is no longer COVID-19. What message do you think is going to be told about the stock market, the economy, and the recovery? You stop and think about this for a second, folks. I want to prepare you for the messaging you're going to get, because it's the same people that are going to be messaging on the other side of this. And the message is going to be, oh, the money, it's going to be fear again. And it's going to be, oh, the markets will never recover. And, oh, things will never be the same. And you're going to lose all your money. And there's going to be people that are trying to take advantage of these things. And they're going to be trying to get people to do things that maybe they shouldn't. So I want to talk a little bit about, I know that's what's coming. You know that's what's coming. The perspective, there are two things that sell in the media, fear and greed. Right now, they're all about the fear. When we get on the other side, it'll be all about the fear. And when we're in good times, it's all about greed. So understand the messaging that's going to come through. That way we can be prepared for that. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. So here's some headlines for you. Is your retirement day today? That's my question for you. Stocks drop in session lows and final hour of trading. Dow now down 600 points. Panic, panic. Dow stock market in turmoil. I told you there was a show right now on one of the news, cable news stations called Markets in Turmoil. An hour every night you can hear about markets in turmoil. But I want to talk about volatility a little bit. I think volatility is actually subjective. So I'm going to give you an example here. Jimbo and Helga each purchased ABC stock for $20 per share. 1 year later, they both sold it for $22 per share. Now, Jimbo checked the price every single day. This was his experience in the market. He got to see it go up some days. He got to see it go down some days. But this was his experience in the market. Up, down, and it ended here. Now, on the other side, Helga didn't check the price at all. This is Helga's experience. She looked when she put it in, and then she looked again 1 year later. Now, both people put the money in for 1 year and were up $2, but who had a better experience with the market? So you have to understand that market movement is not smooth. It's a jagged line. It's not a smooth line. It's jagged. So I'm going to have a little fun with you right here. We're going to take a look at an example here. I want to tell you it's a matter of time. So I'm going to give you a choice of two portfolios, portfolio A or portfolio B. Now, which portfolio would you prefer? And keep in mind, this isn't a trick question. So when I ask you this, everybody should be saying, I want portfolio B, because you can see, obviously, it moves from left to right, and it goes from the bottom to the top, so it's got an upward trend. It made money. Portfolio A looks like it's pretty flat, didn't really make anything. But here's the tricky part of this. Portfolio A is a part of portfolio B. I just took a subsection out. So if I looked from October of 2009 to June of 2010, portfolio A is what you have. Portfolio B starts on June 2009 and ends on June 2013. So one of the things that I want to emphasize for folks that are watching is you have to understand volatility. Volatility in the market is not your volatility. It's a function of how often you're looking at it. It is also a function of, does your plan account for volatility? Good financial plans account for volatility. Quite frankly, we understand that the markets are going to go up and down. So the idea is to not lose the take the full brunt of the markets when they go down, but understand that we are not investing for a short period of time. We're investing for a long period of time. Now, I've received a lot of calls here recently that is basically in regards to market timing. So I thought I would do a slide or two on market timing versus time in the market. So there was a study that was done from a professor in Michigan from 1963 to 2004. He looked at a 42-year span. 42 years is about 15,330 days. And he found that if you were in the market from 1963 to 2004, you averaged 11% in the market. This was an article done in Forbes in July 26, 2018. What he did was he took the 90 best days in the market and he took them out. So just 90 days over a 42-year span. And he found that if you lost those 90 best days, you would have a 3% return in the market instead of an 11% return. That's an incredible fact. Over the course of 42 years, less than 1% of the trading days accounted for 96% of the total return. I mean, think about that. There were 42 years, that's 0.85. If you look at 90 days, 0.85, that's less than 1% of the time was responsible for 96% of the return. So people are constantly asking me about, hey, when's the best time to get in? I want to get in on the bottom. I want to get in on at the bottom. The problem with trying to time the market is that some of the best days in the market may happen after the markets have dropped, but picking that bottom is next to impossible. I like to say a broken clock's right twice a day, but I'm not someone who's going to try to get that. Instead, we need to be focused on our long-term plan. So is your retirement a day-to-day retirement? Is it a 6-month retirement? Is it a 1-year retirement? So I love this. You can go online. You can go to Yahoo Finance or Morningstar, any of these, and you can look at a 1-day, 5-day, 1 month, 6-month, year-to-date return. But whose financial plan is a 1-day, 5-day, 1 month, 6-month financial plan? Is that the length of your retirement? I certainly hope not. I certainly hope that retirement is going to be at least 5 years, and I would hope it would be a complete chapter in your life. So when we start stretching it out and looking at it in terms of a full retirement, your plan needs to account for time. So a good plan We don't have to worry about the ups and downs in the market because we plan for that. It's the reason we have emergency funds. It's the reason that we have bucket approaches. All the things that we're talking to you about as clients in regards to your portfolios is coming into play right now. So beautiful things. Some things in life have changed. I love this, stocking up on toilet paper. I shared this in a previous one, but I think it's awesome. Jonathan is a huge sports fan, so I had to put this in for him. Day 2 without sports. Found a young lady sitting on my couch yesterday. Apparently, she's my wife. She seems nice. Wilson, the originator of social distancing. Some things never change. When I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news. My mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are willing to help. Keep in mind, folks, fear is contagious, but so is faith, hope, and love. And I love this. You need to have an attitude of gratitude. Faith, love, happiness, and there is no rain. That means there's no rainbows. I shared these pictures of the kids last week. I didn't update these. That's Danica and Cooper. Danica got her art project done. Cooper's got some wood cut up for us. So we're doing a good job with those guys and trying to keep them busy. So those are a couple of the things as far as our weekly updates go on what's going on. Now I want to share some other things with you. There were some things that we were looking at and some quotes that I got and some perspective that I wanted to add to folks. And obviously I want to answer any questions. If anybody has any, you can raise a hand, or if you want to join in, you can also email me. We're available to answer any and all questions that you've got. But I was having a conversation with a client yesterday, and I started thinking about a business coach that I have, and one of the things that he asked me, and he said, what actions does your future self want you to take today? And I stopped and I started thinking about that. You know, what actions does my future self want me to take today? So this is a very unique time in our lives. It's the COVID-19. And I've talked about there are buckets that are uncontrollable and there are buckets that are controllable for us. And which one are we going to focus our energy and our time and our effort into? We shouldn't focus it on the things that we can't control. We should focus it on the things that we can control. So one of the things that I've talked about with a buddy of mine is going snowboarding in Japan. And I downloaded some apps last week to start learning Japanese because we were thinking we might do it this coming year. Now we might do it in a couple years, but I thought what better time than of an evening when I get home, instead of watching the news, I'm going to try to learn some Japanese. So konnichiwa. Another thing that we've talked about is we ordered one of those piano keyboards, and Danica wants to start to learn how to play the piano. And I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano too. So that's something that my future self would want me to do right now, spending time with my family, doing things that maybe could give us value in the future. So that's first. I thought of 3 questions that I would ask. And the first was, who do I want to be? So for me, I wrote down, I want to be a great father. I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great leader, a great boss, a great friend, and a great coach and advisor. The second question I asked myself was, what do I need to do to accomplish these things? So there's a reason why I'm doing these webinars every week. There's a reason why you're getting 2 or 3 emails from me a week. There's a reason why you're getting information from us, hard copied information in the mail. It's because I want to be a good leader. I want to be a person that is sowing the seeds of hope instead of spreading weeds of despair. I want to be a leader. I want to be someone that you can count on to get the facts, to get perspective. So that's very important to me, and that's why we're doing these things. I go home of an evening, and on the weekends, I'm focusing on being a good husband and a good father for my kids. The third question that I have to continue to ask is, why does it matter? And I truly believe that it matters because I want to help those around me to be better, to have better lives, and I want to have a better life for my family. So these are the whys for me, and you have to have an important why to keep doing the things that you're doing. So what is your why? Who do you want to, what does your future self want you to be doing during this time of crisis? Does your future self think that your time is best spent watching the death toll on the news, or perhaps learning a new skill or gaining a new hobby? These are the things that I want you to think about as we're moving forward. Our financials we're solid. We know that the markets go down. We know that the markets go up. They go up and down. And every winter has a summer, and every summer has a winter. Right now we're in winter, but it will end, and we will have summer again. It's a matter of time. We will get back to normal, but don't squander this time. There are a lot of people who are sitting around saying, man, I wish this never would have happened. And I can't wait for this to be over. That's squandering the opportunity. Jim Rohn, I wrote down a quote from him, said, don't wish your life was easier, wish that you were better. If you don't like your life, don't blame your elements. Change it. You control it. Working hard in your profession will make you a living. Working hard on yourself will make you a fortune. And I think it's very important that during a time like this, that we're able to look back and say, hey, I made the best of that time with my family, with the people I care about, with the hobbies or activities that I do. So I really want to push you to be positive. Another quote, I love this. It said, Jim Rohn, he said, you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. So think about who you want to hang out with. Who are the people you want to surround yourself with? Do you want to surround yourself with people that are complaining or who are blamers, complainers? I want to surround myself with game changers. I want to be around people that have a great attitude, who are optimistic, who have hope, who are real, have realistic optimism. I don't want somebody who has wishful thinking, but I want realism. I want to understand, and I want people to have perspective on what's going on, but I want you to understand that you control the controllables. So don't squander that opportunity. Don't squander this opportunity. Be safe, be positive, and God bless. With that, if anybody has any questions, feel free to email them to me. I notice we don't have any on the webinar right now, so feel free to send me any questions that you have. Kind of an update for you. Anybody that misses a webinar, you can tell people to go to our website. Every webinar I've done over the past 6 weeks is there. If you think somebody needs a dose of perspective, maybe needs to put a smile on their face, hopefully we can give you that. So keep in mind to control the controllables, be positive, and maintain an attitude of gratitude. Be thankful for the things that you have. Pray for the folks on the front lines. Pray for those who are dealing with the virus. Be safe, be strong, and God bless. I appreciate all of you.